I'm Miss Smetana and welcome to Bulldog Profiles. Joining me on this edition is Mitch Zilinger, a new social worker at RB.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Why don't we begin by having you tell us a little bit about where you went to school and what you chose to major in?
Sure. So my undergrad is actually from Southern Illinois, Carbondale. When I went there initially, I was for automotive, and I changed my major like 7 or 8 times. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. But I took a speech class, which I know a lot of people don't like, and I thoroughly enjoyed the class. So I went forward to doing that in the communication side of things, and I actually specialized or majored in compassionate communication and interpersonal communication, which most people don't even think is a thing. So I did that and then started working, and then about 5 years later I was working in for 4 years or so inside of recruiting, and then long story short, heard about social work, looked into it, loved it, wanted to learn more about it, so went to a number of colleges and wound up at Dominican University here in River Forest, or close to here, for social work, and I've loved it ever since then.
What kind of drew you to becoming a social worker?
So when I was working in recruiting, actually, I had a number of employees that were mine, kind of to say, and one of my employees was talking about how their son was having a hard time and with anxiety, depression, and just life situations that he was dealing with. So and she was telling me about how he goes to see this therapist and what they work on, and I'm like, wow, like that's interesting. Didn't even know that stuff existed. So started digging into it farther, and everything I was reading was just like fascinating to me, and I'm not one to just pick up a book and read, and with social work I was like, give me more of it. So I knew that's where I wanted to be, and everything I've done in social work I've just thoroughly enjoyed. That's
great. And if I remember correctly, either while you were going back to school or somewhere in the process, you also worked as a paraprofessional.
I did,
right?
Yeah. So I kind of went out on a limb when I decided to do social work, and I left my career that I've already kind of established myself in for 4 years. Went back to school, and then I also worked as a paraprofessional, or left that job, worked as a paraprofessional at Stevenson High School, where I was there for about 2.5 years. And as a paraprofessional, I started there as a one-on-one aide with a student, high-functioning autism. My first real experience inside of special ed. 20 years ago, I probably would not have ever found myself doing that, but I loved it. It was a great experience that I still take a lot from today. And then I pretty much shadow one student all day and help them with any educational needs that they may have. And then the following year, I went to more of a class aide role, where I worked with a lot of students on the spectrum, more so like 8 or 9 inside of the classroom. I did that for about 1.5 years, and yeah, it was just an amazing experience. And was my first taste of kind of special ed and social work, and that's where I found out that like this really is what I want to do with my life.
And I bet that certainly helped you as you've begun your first couple of weeks here at RB.
Yeah, definitely. The experience is very transferable. Right now I work with students on the spectrum. I have a lot of those on my caseload, so that experience and working one-on-one and seeing how they interact in the classroom or how students interact in the classroom and getting the teacher perspective has really helped me in my role. When I step away from that classroom, I can see more now, have more insight to what goes on inside of that classroom, which really helps me focus in on helping my students.
Wonderful. And you also did some work with Wings, is that correct?
Yeah, so I had an internship with Wings for a year. I actually stayed on there, and I still am there. I volunteer there for the last 2 years. I've been there volunteering, but I did have an internship there, which is a year long, as a child advocate, mainly working with the children. I did some work with the parents, but mainly with the children, running groups there, really individual counseling as well too. So that was very high trauma focused, which was outstanding, which was in terms of experience that I gained, because that's very transferable. A lot of students face trauma in general and younger generations. So very transferable, absolutely love that there, and that's why I stay on volunteering there. I go there once a week at nighttime to still work with the kids inside of a group setting.
Oh wow, that's a big commitment to be busy here all day and then still go there. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and I love it though. So I mean, there's never a day where I wake up that I'm like, oh, I got to go to work today. It's never like that. It's always like I'm excited to go, and I'm usually here early, so that's a good thing.
And you stay late, that's for sure.
I do as well, yes.
So you talked about groups there, and you do groups here. Can you explain a little bit, like when you refer to groups, what types of things you talk about in groups, or different groups that you may have?
Yeah, so within Wings in general, the groups that run there are very trauma focused, so it's a lot of different therapies that are used to help the students with coping skills. Then when we transfer here to, I almost said Wings, sorry, to Riverside, the groups that we are running are anxiety groups that will be starting up here pretty soon. So within an anxiety group, it's really working on, depending on where the student is, identifying triggers for them, any type of coping mechanisms that we can work on with them. So there's minor homework within those groups to practice and bring back to the group, but also just more so talk therapy and really working through anxiety, depression inside of the groups, and allowing the students a safe spot to share their thoughts and feelings that they're having and get advice not only from the professionals in the field, being myself and other social workers or counselors, but also from students who have similar experiences as well. So anxiety group, there's a grief group, there's just a number of groups that we're running this year.
That's great. And my understanding too is that you ran some groups during your internship. Can you tell us about your internship experience?
Yeah, so I interned at a great school last year. It was Riverside High School. Love it there. Great staff there as well too. Within the groups there, I ran an anxiety/depression group. I actually ran 2 of them. And then also I ran an anger management group, which was a pretty challenging group, but in the beginning they didn't want to show up, and then towards the end I had a great relationship with the students, so that was a great experience for me as well too. I also ran a social thinking group there, which I run here as well too. But social thinking is more for students who are having a hard time identifying social cues and wondering how to act in a certain situation. So there it's some role play, some examples. We watch movies like Elf and talk about expected and unexpected behaviors in there, because there's a lot of unexpected things. So yeah, groups are just a lot of fun, and students tend to do very well in them.
And then at RB, in addition to groups, you do some large-scale events like National Suicide Prevention Week, and you have some other ones coming up as well throughout the year, right?
Yep. So here in terms of the interventions that we're looking at, so we just got through Suicide Prevention Week, so that was great. The students, there's a student-run organization here called Erica's Lighthouse, which focuses on depression and raising awareness towards the students. So they were going into health rooms doing presentations. They were holding meetings before school where students can walk in and talk about it. It was all supervised by a trained professional, but students did an excellent job raising awareness. And there was a lot of students that we identified through that process that we might not have identified another way. So it was just another tool that we have in our toolbox that we can use to reach out to those students. In terms of upcoming things, we want to raise awareness around bullying. So we're going to have a bullying awareness week and do a lot of different conferences or meetings about those, and raising awareness there, as well as social media. Social media is becoming huge with what you're posting on there, and then also the bullying side. So those are great avenues to kind of transfer back and forth there. So those are 2 things that are just coming up, but we do have a number of things that are planned this year that we're pretty excited about.
That's great, and those things wouldn't have been possible without the addition of you and our other new social worker, Emily. So we're excited to see all of those things play out for our students at RB. In addition to all of that, you still find time to do Best Buddies. How has that been going?
Best Buddies has been an amazing experience. I was in charge of it I was helping out at Stevenson High School, as well as last year at Riverside High School. So had 2 different school experiences, came here, and I got to say that the students here are very dedicated to what it is. And if you don't know what Best Buddies is, it's really just a club that builds friendships between students with intellectual disabilities and students who don't have intellectual disabilities. So we hang out and do different activities, plan different things, and all the students that are on the board are extremely committed. They do a great job with it. It's teeters between the first and second largest organization within the school. So just raising awareness there, and it does take a decent amount of time, but the co-sponsor, Dawn Soprich, is fantastic as well too. So it's been a great experience. It really helps me get to know the students. It's nice when you're new to a school and you get to know students and staff, and the students and Best Buddies walk around like, hey, Mr. Z. So that makes you feel a lot more accepted as well too. So No, it's been a great experience, and I look forward to all the events that we have coming up in that too.
You've certainly been busy at RB. What would you say in your first year would be a goal or two that you hope to accomplish?
Really get my name out there. Social work in general is behind the scenes, right? Counseling is always doors closed, and people don't get to realize where to go for help or how that help actually looks and what that looks like. So really just get out there, being active, being in a part of a number of things. I also do homework club on Thursdays, so if there's any students watching, go to homework club. But you know, just getting out there and helping the students realize that there is individuals here that want to help them be in their corner. So that's my biggest goal that I'm trying to accomplish now.
That sounds great, and I know you're already off to a great start. So I want to thank you, Mr. Zilinger. It was wonderful having you on Bulldog Profiles, and we hope you continue to have a great experience here at RB. We know that the students are already well on to getting to know you and recognizing you in the hallway and reaching out to you for help and support. So I want to thank you for all you do, and I'm Ms. Smetana, and I want to thank you for watching another edition of Bulldog Profiles.